You are on mute, Chair.
Good afternoon, members. I was on mute for an entire minute. Please accept
the whole time.
Please accept my humble apologies. I'm pretty sure that our procedural officer, Wasim Matthews, who is with us already, WhatsApped me in that regard, but please forgive me for that oversight in not muting myself. It was a test so that we are able to get the ball rolling, and we've already made that mistake now. Members, this is a public meeting based on the Museum Ordinance Bill. Regarding the rules of engagement for today, I will encourage participants, when you are speaking, please switch on your video and your mic, preferably if you wish to do so in your video. But also, please wait for 0.5 seconds before you speak. This will help us in order to not miss out on any key words based on your opening remarks. Let me allow members of the committee to introduce themselves.
Good morning, Chairperson, or good afternoon, Chairperson. This is Gillian Postman.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairperson. I must just say we waited for you for 1 minute, not that few seconds. Lorraine Botha.
Thank you so much, Member Botha.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. It's Mesuli Kama.
Members, are you able to indicate if you are standing in for any other member? I have engaged members of the committee who assured me that they will be here today. However, they must be able to confirm if they are standing in for another member.
Chair, I'm not standing in for anyone, but what I will also do is to also check with Member Barnes as to why she's not online yet.
Thank you so much. I will allow the department and any other guests to introduce themselves.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, members. I'm Michael Janssen van Rensburg, and I'm the Deputy Director for the Museum Service with the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sport.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and members. I am Michelle Mellon, a State Law Advisor in the Department of the Premier.
Thank you so much for those introductions. It has been recorded. Members with us, like I indicated, we have Wasim Matthews, our procedural officer, as well as Mr. Ben Daza, as well as our IT support. To all other guests watching on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. Members, as you are aware, the purpose of the meeting today is a public hearing on the Western Cape Museum Ordinance Bill. In order to give a brief overview, the bill was referred to the Standing Committee on Community Safety, Cultural Affairs and Sport by the Speaker. As you are all aware, we've engaged as a committee, and due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the committee resolved to hold a virtual public hearing, which is today. The committee extensively advertised using print newspaper, also via the WCPP social media platforms and its media alert options. We further sent the advertisements to the Tusong centers, municipalities, libraries, and museum. I firmly trust that we have complied with Section 118 of the Constitutional and Standing Rule of the Provincial Parliament, which states that the Provincial Parliament must facilitate public involvement in the process of its committees as required by the Constitution. Members, just briefly, after the public hearings, the committee will adopt a motion of desirability and proceed to clause-by-clause consideration of the bill. We will do it informally. Thereafter, we will do it formally and report on the bill. I would also encourage members that if any amendments are to be made or suggested, that the reference should be clearly stated. I will now firstly hand over to the department to give us a brief overview of 5 minutes for the overview, and then also to speak to the input which was received via the written submissions which were circulated to members. I will now note the department.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. From the department side, I would like to introduce the comments and responses that was received during the latest public consultation process. Chair, with your permission, I can share my screen to put the grid on the screen.
All good, please do so, and directly afterwards if you are able to unshare. We do appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the grid matrix is currently on the screen for the comments that were received. Essentially, there were 2 comments received, or 2 responses rather. The first by the Ministry of Finance and Economic Opportunities, and the second by Dr. Nick Walker. The comment received from the Ministry of Finance and Economic Opportunities raised that the bill should make provision to require the department to issue policy guidelines or directives to determine instances where the auditing of a museum should be conducted by the Auditor General of South Africa. The department's response in this regard is that the proposal in the comments is not aligned with the objective of the amendment. The amendment seeks to delete the requirement that the Auditor General audits the accounts of province-aided museums. In terms of Section 4.3 of the Public Audit Act, the Auditor General will still retain a discretion to audit the accounts of province-aided museums should the amendment pass. The proposal is in this sense therefore not necessary and potentially may fetter the discretion of the Auditor General should the criteria envisaged in the proposal not align with the prescribed criteria referred to in the Public Audit Act. Secondly, the responses from Dr. Nick Walker. His responses in the matrix, we just separated them for ease of reference. The first was a comment to say that there is no mention of the support role played by the department itself. We think this is a misunderstanding as the statement is not correct. The bill expressly substitutes the defined terms department that refers to the Provincial Department of Cultural Affairs and Sport in the bill. These references are in the clauses throughout the text that sets out or refers to the functions of the department. Secondly, Dr. Walker commented, what about mentioning private or independent museums? And he asked a question if they are legal. And the response in this regard is that the scope of the bill is that it deals with the 3 categories of museums dealt with in the principal ordinance, and these are provincial, province aided and local museums. In other words, this current bill does not deal with private or independent museums, and in short, they are not illegal. Thirdly, Dr. Walker commented, he said there are also issues like insurance, building maintenance, liabilities, leases, dealing with an unruly public, etc., that need to be covered by regulation. The department's response: in respect of province-aided museums, the bill does provide in clause 27, which substituted section 29 of the Principal Act, that subsidies may be used only for the payment of salaries, wages and allowances and the maintenance cost of the museum. The costs listed in the comment would seemingly fall within the grouping of maintenance costs. The bill does not provide likewise for provincial museums. This is because the building in which these museums are located are owned by the provincial government, and the payments, if such costs, are regulated by rules and arrangements extraneous to the bill. Dr. Walker then also commented, he said, also stakeholders like museums, clubs, friends, volunteers need to be borne in mind, in which the department response is such stakeholders are recognized in the bill. For example, for all three types of museums, provision is made for subscribers to particular museums to be nominated on the governance structure of the museum. These subscribers are commonly known as friends of the museum, and they are normally a group of volunteers, so the bill does make provision for it. Dr. Walker then specifically commented on specific points, which he then highlighted and which we addressed one by one in our responses. The first one is section 1, which Dr. Walker said should include accessions. The definition of a museum in clause 1 of the bill refers to acquire, or one of the functions is to acquire. This includes the accession of an object by a museum. In short, accessioning is the last step of the formal process to acquire, and so by having the word acquire as a function for museums in the ordinance, it already includes that part of the process which deals with accession. Dr. Walker then also pointed out section 2, where he stated it is not clear what criteria are needed for a museum to be a provincial museum. It implies that these have a higher status than aided museums just below a national museum. The Dias Museum, in fact, has an international interest because of the Portuguese connection. The department's response in this regard is that the statement in the comments is not totally correct. Clause 2 of the bill clearly sets out what is needed for a provincial museum to be established. First, the purpose of establishment must be to promote and protect the heritage of the province. And secondly, there needs to be a consideration of the operational needs of the department. As to the second contention in the comment, it is unclear how the assumption can be made, and clarity perhaps is required. For the third, the department has no response to the statement that the Dias Museum has an international interest because of the Portuguese connection. Dr. Walker then pointed to section 3, in which he states that one problem is that the department makes decisions without consulting management committees. The roles thus of committees are ambiguous. The department's response is that the statement in the comment is not correct, because section 7 of the Principal Act, read with clause 8 of the bill, sets out clearly the functions of the management committee. Section 7 was also highlighted by Dr. Walker, in which he says that items 1A to 1C are surely museum management rather than committee tasks. And if is too vague, the committee should provide direction and oversight, in which the department responds that the management committee of Provincial Museum constitutes the governance structure of the museum. The committee performs an advisory role in support of museum management. This is unlike in the case of the other category of museums, which is province aided, where its governance structure are required to be involved and accountable for operational decisions to the department. As such, committees, in fact, do provide directions and oversight. Dr. Walker then continued to say that there is no mention of how often the committee should meet. The department's response in this regard is that Section 33 of the Principal Ordinance provides for when a board of province-aided museums should meet. There is no equivalent for provincial museums, but there is also no need to provide likewise. This is because the boards of province-aided museums are accountable to the department, and the latter wants to be assured that a board will at least meet 3 or 4 times per year. This is not needed in the case of a provincial museum because the committee performs an advisory role and is therefore not accountable. In the end, the department is the one that should account. It is submitted that such a provision is unnecessary because a management committee in any event has authority under Section 7(1)(f) to coordinate its own timetable for meetings. Dr. Walker then also referred to Section 9, donations, etc. should also be subject to the museum's collection policy, which should include temporary loans. There needs to be proper acceptance forms, etc. The department's response is that the museum will, in clause 10, which amends Section 9 of the Principal Ordinance, have a discretion to accept donations, provided that it does not subject to the Public Finance Management Act. As the department has a discretion to accept donations, it may develop guidelines to guide it in exercising that discretion, provided the guidelines are in accordance with Section 9 and do not fetter the discretion of the museum. There is therefore no need to expressly include this in the clause that a museum should have such a policy and that donations should be subject to the policy. I think lastly, Dr. Walker then mentioned Section 40, in which he states, is there really a museum advisory committee? If so, why do we not hear of their proposals? For me, the museum service is passive and should be more innovative and play a more active role in society. To this, the department responds that currently there is not such an advisory committee. The museum ordinance makes provision for the department to initiate or set up such a committee, but it said do so. And then lastly, there was a document submitted, more like a letter by Mr. Mbiko, which was not specific to the ordinance. It was a general comment on the purpose and role of museums in society. And so from the department side, the comments and discussion of the letter is noted. And we will take it under advisement, but there's no direct impact of this letter on the ordinance. Thank you very much, Chair. I'll unshare my screen now.
Thank you so much, Mr. van Rensburg. We appreciate your input to the written comments which was received. Members, I trust that you have made notes on those responses and the input provided by the department. But before we open that part of our meeting, I am going to, at this stage, open the meeting to the public. I'm going to double check with our procedural officer. Do we have any members of the public online? I do want to stress and thank the committee for your work and reading up in this regard. We have, since our briefing, together with arranging our public participation process, engaged quite a lot regarding today. Mr. Wasim Matthews, do we have any members of the public online?
Good afternoon, Chair and members and departmental officials. No, Chairperson, there's also been no indication from anyone who wants to do an oral submission on the bill.
Thank you so much. Members, based on the input by our procedural officer that we have not received any correspondence with regard to a member of the public indicating that they wish to submit an oral submission today. I will now at this time close this part of the meeting, seeing that no members of the public have logged in. We have advertised extensively, and I will now ask for the department officials and all members to remain online as we go to the second stage of today. Members, you would be aware that a provincial bill is slightly different to a Section 76 bill, and the committee should now adopt a motion of desirability. I was informed that I need to read the motion of desirability into the record. May I commence with that? I will table the motion of desirability. It is now being flighted on the screen. We will give our procedural officer. I trust members are able to see the screen. In the opinion of the committee, legislation is desirable to amend the Museum Ordinance 1975 so as to substitute, delete, and insert certain definitions, to make further provision for the establishment of a provincial museum, to make different provisions for the constitution of management committees, to make different provision for the tenure of office of members of a management committee, to provide for the disqualification for a membership of a management committee, to make provision for the designation of a chairperson of a management committee, to make different provisions for the quorum for the meetings of a management committee, to make provision for decision making by a management committee, to make different provision for, okay. I am getting old, Wasim, but thank you so much for making it a little bit bigger, to make provision for decision making by a management committee, to make different provision for the management committee to determine and charge admission fees for entry to office members of a control board, to make for the designation of a chairperson of a control board, to provide for the quorum, oh my eyes, there we go, to provide for the quorum of meetings of a control board, to provide for decision making by a control board, to make further provision for the payment of grants to control boards, to make different provisions for the making of regulations under the ordinance, to make further provision for the abolition of province aided and local museums, to make different provisions for the delegation of powers, to amend the long title of the ordinance to provide for savings and transitional provisions, to effect certain textual improvements, and to provide for matters incidental thereto, and the legislation referred to the committee be taken as a basis. Mr. Wasim Matthews, thank you so much. Members, the MOD, the motion of desirability, has been read for the record. I will now, before we go to the informal stage, I have noted the attendance of Member Mare. Thank you for your attendance here today. As a committee, we are delighted to note that family members are feeling much better, but thank you so much for your attendance. I see that you have lowered your hand now. I will note you, Member Mare, for the record, if you can introduce yourself.
Thank you, Peter Murray. I'm attending this meeting as a member, but I want to ask the previous speaker, we have certain challenges.
Member Mare, we will definitely get to that part now, sir.
Oh, what part are we now on, sir?
We have read the MOD into the record, which is a motion of desirability. Thereafter, we will do an informal stage and a formal stage. But before the informal stage, we will ask for questions and for points of clarity regarding the input from the department. So I have noted you in the meeting. Thank you so much. Members, as I've indicated, the MOD has been read into the record. I've also noted the attendance of Advocate Maasdorp. Members, with regard to the submission from the public and the responses thereto in written form, is there any questions, any clarity seeking points? I have noted Member Marais and
Chairman,
Member Kaba. You can go, Member Marais.
11. I want to know from the department that when they drew up this long statement, they said the purpose of this amendment. Did you take into account the challenges listed in the discussion paper of 2011, where they said that there's certain things, shortcomings in this bill? Have you taken it on board or have you not taken it on board? Capacity restraints over the past 2 decades, funding cutbacks of 75%, not keeping up with technological developments, and the museums have become old-fashioned. Also, volunteerism has declined, and the museum infrastructure has been deteriorating. Now, I want to know, the objectives are spelled out now, this morning. Have you taken those on board, or have you not? And if not, why not?
Thank you so much, Member Marais. I trust that fan above you will hold. We are delighted that you are here. Member Marais, for the record, we've had a briefing on the 15th. I have noted some of your questions would relate to questions posed in a briefing. However, I will allow for the department to, for this one instance, to respond to your input. In that regard, I will now note Member Kama.
Thanks, Chair. My questions are really questions of clarity in terms of the responses that are given to, is it I think it's Dr. Walker, yes. Dr. Walker, where is this now? The first one is where he cites section 9 on the donations. If I really want to get more clarity, Chair, from the department in this regard, because when I see, I think on the second paragraph of the response by the department, it says as the department has a discretion to accept a donation, it may develop guidelines to guide it in exercising that discretion, provided that the guidelines are in line with section 9. Now, what I want to check, Chair, also reading it with the comment that on the submission of Dr. Walker is it sufficient for us to say the department may, than instead of saying the department has to create guidelines or it must create guidelines in order to guide, I mean, the departments in exercising this discretion. And if I can get perhaps Chair, because I don't know, I might have missed where these the email were been sent, the submissions, but I also just want to get an understanding as to on the part of Dr. Walker in terms of these responses. What was there any further input from his side, or if there's an opportunity for that, or if there was an opportunity for that? But the other question, clarity, Chair, that I have is when he talks about section 40 and talk about the museum's advisory committee. the department says there is no advisory committee currently, and that the principal ordinance provides the option for the department to establish such committee if required. Now, I want to get an understanding, Chair, as to what would have or what would then determine if such a committee is required, because like Dr. Walker, one would have really wanted to get the proposals which would have come from a museum's advisory committee. But what is also interesting, Chair, for me, I think also as a matter of clarity, I think the second part of the doctor, he states that I think this is his view, correctly so, like all others were his views. He says the museum service is very passive and should be more innovative and play a more active role in society. I'm really interested in the innovation and the more active role, but the department says the comment is subjective, and it cannot comment on subjective views of the commentator. But what I want to understand, because I think we also or the whole process of legislation also has a role to ensure that institutions such as these are more innovative and do play an active role in society. If I can just be clarified on that, Chair, thanks.
Thank you so much, Member Kama. Member Marais, I see your hand is still up. Are you able to lower your hand? Thank you so much. Over to the department, Mr. Janse van Rensburg. I note you, sir.
Thank you, Chair and members. I will start by addressing Member Marais' question concerning the discussion paper that was published on 30 June in 2011. At that stage in 2011, the department did publish this discussion paper, as we did note the shortcomings of the existing legislation. So 10 years later, we've made a lot of developments and progress. However, in order to bring all of the changes about that came through this process of the discussion paper, we actually need a brand new museum bill in order to address all of these matters. The department is currently working on a draft museum bill that will eventually replace, or hopefully replace, the current museum's ordinance. However, as an interim measure, the department has proceeded with now trying to amend the existing ordinance to free up resources. As we've indicated, the main purpose of the amendments is to free up that 2.5 million annually that the affiliated museums spend on auditor general costs. And that has been the key driving force behind the amendments. But we share Member Marais' views that there is still much further change needed, and this will be addressed in the new bill. But for an interim measure, therefore, we are trying to amend this bill to free up financial resources. Secondly, I would like to comment on Member Kama. Member Kama asked two questions, one on Section 9 on donations, and the second one on Section 40. With regard to Section 9 on donations, I need to just explain the context. A provincial museum is essentially owned by the department. And so once a donation is made to a provincial museum, these donations must then be accepted by the department and treated as assets or whatever it might be in terms of the Public Finance Management Act. And so, therefore, we do not elaborate further on this specifically to provincial museums. But as per our comment further on in the ordinance, donations and the way to deal with them specifically are addressed for province-aided museums, which do not essentially belong to the department but are statutory bodies in their own right. Then section 40, with regard to the advisory committee, this is a policy point of view from the department to save further costs. Any appointment of additional committees have further expenditure. Currently, there is not a need for this specifically to provincial museums, because provincial museums and their appointed management committees are essentially advisory by nature. And so we get that function fulfilled by these appointed management committees. Just for noting, for example, that Dr. Walker himself is an appointed member on the management committee of a provincial museum, the Bartholomew Dyers Museum in Mossel Bay. So we get the benefit of advice from these members through those committees. On the comment with regards to innovation, I think the department's response in this regard was to focus on the legalities and procedural correctness of the bill. We understand that Dr. Walker perhaps have a perspective or opinion about innovation, and we will certainly continue to consult him and engage with him as an existing member, like I said, of the management committee of the Dyers Museum for his further advice and guidance where he feels the department can be more innovative. Chair, I hope that addresses the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Janse van Rensburg, for your replies to those questions posed by members. Members, before we move in order to adopt the MOD, which will then take us into the informal stage, thereafter the formal stage, is there any follow-up question based on any of the remarks made? I note no hands. Members, I now, like I've indicated, the MOD has been read into the record and the legislation referred to this committee is taken as a basis. I put it to the committee that we adopt the MOD. Do I have any
Chairperson?
Comment on that? I see Member Botha and Member Bosman.
Who goes first, Chair? Because Bosman was talking.
I will let Member Botha go first.
Thank you, Chair. I support that proposal, Chair.
Thank you so much, Member Bosman.
Chairperson, I want to second Member Botha on that proposal that she's just made.
Thank you so much, Member Bosman. Member Marais, your hand went up and down.
Well, the DA has done both my jobs, proposed and seconded. There's no need for me to say anything. Normally, it's the opposite parties who do that.
Chairperson, I will defer to Member Marais if he wants to second Member Botha. It's always nice to have him around.
No,
Thank you so
I'm
much.
quite happy with you seconding.
Thank you so much. Members, the MOD has been read into the record. It has been adopted by the Standing Committee, Cultural Affairs and Sport. Community safety, cultural affairs and sport. Members, the informal stage, I will now put it to the members. Clause 1 to 48. I repeat, this is the informal stage. For consideration, I put to you clause 1 to 48. Are there any amendments before we go to the formal stage? The bill has been circulated. So sorry, Member Marais.
Nothing from my side, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Member Marais. Members, the documentation has been circulated accordingly to all members. I will, at this time, in the absence of any comment in the informal stage, our procedural officer will note that clauses 1 to 48 has been tabled in the informal stage, and there is no amendments at this time. Members, like I've indicated, this is a provincial bill. I will now place on the record the formal stage, which is a clause by clause consideration of the bill. If there's any proposed amendments in this stage, I will then again refer to our legal advisors for the legality thereof. Members, I put to you clause 1. Any objections?
No objection.
No objections.
A clause agreed to. Members, I put to you clause 2. Any objections?
No objection.
No objection.
Clause agreed to. I put to you clause 3.
No objection.
No objections.
The clause is agreed to. Members, I put to you clause 4. Is there any objections?
No objection, Chair.
No objections.
Clause agreed to. I put to you clause 5.
No objection.
Clause
No objection.
agreed to. I put to you clause 6.
No objection.
Clause agreed to. I put to you clause 7.
No objection.
No
I put to
objection.
you clause agreed to. I put to you clause 8.
No objection.
In the absence of no objections, clause agreed to. I put to you clause 9.
No objection.
Clause agreed to. Members, I put to you clause 10.
No objection.
It's clause agreed to. Members, I put to you clause 11.
No objections, Chairperson.
Thank you so much. Members, it is clause agreed to. I put to you clause 12.
Oh, no objection, Chair.
It is clause agreed to. I put to you clause 13. In the absence of no objections, it is clause agreed to. I put to you clause 14. In the absence of no objections, clause agreed to. Members, I put to you clause 15. I trust that members have read up noted correspondence received via the department as well. In the absence of no objections, clause agreed to. Members, I put to you clause 16. In the absence of no objections, clause agreed 2. I put to you clause 7. 17, sorry, 17.
No objection.
In the absence,
No
thank
objection.
you, no objections. Clause agreed 2. I put to you clause 18.
No objection.
Clause agreed 2. I put to you clause 19. In the absence of no objections, clause agreed 2. Members, I put to you clause 20.
No objection.
No, clause agreed 2. I put to you clause 21.
Geen beswaar.
The Afrikaans is mooi, baie dankie. Clause agreed 2. Members, we are halfway there. I put to you clause 22. In the absence of no objections, clause agreed 2. I put to you clause 23.
No objection.
Clause agreed 2. I put to you clause 24.
No objection.
Clause agreed 2. I put to you clause 25.
No objection.
No objection.
I object, sir. It's clause 26. I object.
Clause 25.
Amendment, you said, yeah, you said 25. It's written as 26. Amendment of section 26 of Ordinance 8. Did you say section 25?
No, so sorry. Let me repeat again. Members, I put to you clause 25.
Okay, thank you. No problem.
Thank you, Member Marais.
No
clause
objection.
agreed to. Members, I put to you clause 26. In the absence of no objections, clause agreed to. I put to you clause 27. 27.
No
Geen
objection.
beswaar.
Clause agreed to. I put to you clause 28.
No objection.
Clause agreed to. I put to you clause 29. No objections recorded, so clause agreed to. Members, I put to you clause 30.
Geen beswaar.
Duly noted, clause accepted. Members, I put to you clause 31.
No objection.
Clause agreed to. Members, I put to you clause 32.
Geen beswaar.
Clause agreed to. Members, I give, I submit to you clause 33. If there's
No
no
objection.
objections, clause agreed to. I put you clause 34.
No
If there's no
objection.
objections, clause agreed to. Clause 35.
Geen beswaar.
Clause agreed to. Clause 36.
Geen beswaar.
Geen beswaar.
Clause agreed to. Clause 37.
Geen beswaar.
Clause
Geen
agreed to. Clause 38.
Geen beswaar.
Geen
Clause
beswaar.
agreed to. Clause 39.
Geen beswaar.
Clause agreed to. Clause 40.
Geen beswaar.
Clause agreed to. Clause 41.
Geen beswaar.
Clause agreed to. Clause 42.
Geen beswaar.
Clause agreed to. I put you clause 43. There's no objections. Clause agreed to. Members, I put you clause 44. If there's no objections, clause agreed to. Members, I put you clause 45. If there's no objections, clause agreed to. Members, I put you clause 46. If there's no objections, clause
No
agreed
objection.
to. Thank you. Members, I put you clause 47.
No objection.
Clause agreed 2. Members, I put to you clause 48, which is the short title. Any objections?
No objections, Chairperson.
Members, I put to you the long title. Is there any objections?
No objection.
Clause agreed to. Members, I put the entire bill, the Western Cape Museums Ordinance Amendment Bill B5 of 2020. Is there any objections?
No.
There are no objections, Chairperson.
No.
If there's no objections, the bill is agreed to. Members, on the 15th of this month, I remember we, as a committee, we unanimously agreed in order to assist the department that will ultimately assist residents in order to ensure that the bill is taken, that the bill is completed before the end of this month. Thank you so much for all your hard work and for reading up and for engaging throughout the system, throughout the process. The committee report will now be flighted by our procedural officer. As you've noted, that we will adopt a report, and unlike a section 76, the committee report will read, members, the report of the Standing Committee of Community Safety, Cultural Affairs and Sport on the Western Cape Museums Ordinance Bill dated 24 March as follows. The Standing Committee on Community Safety, Cultural Affairs and Sport, having considered the subject of the Western Cape Museums Ordinance Amendment Bill B5 of 2020, referred to the committee in accordance with Standing Rule 173, begs to report the bill without amendments. Members, do I have your views on the report as it is screened at the moment? I see Member Botha, Member Bosman.
I propose that we adopt the report as is flighted now, Chair.
Member Bosman.
Chair, I was going to second that, but I lowered my hand because I think Member Marais wanted to do it as well.
Member Marais, I note your hand.
Well, he is so kind, so how can I say no? I'll second it.
Thank you so much, Member Marais. Do I see any other hands? I'm just going, no other hands. Members, in terms of the process moving forward, I'm seeing we have now officially adopted the report. The bill will now be tabled in the House for a second reading debate. And if it's passed by the House, it will be signed into law by the Premier. I wish to thank all the members for your attendance, for your engagement. Thank you to our legal advisors who provided input as well, to our procedural officers for your hard work. We also extend to those members of the public that provided written submissions. Thank you so much. As a committee, the bill is now, our report is duly adopted. And I see no hands from anyone. Member, Mr. Wasim Matthews, would it be in order to then conclude our meeting and adjourn? Just to double check procedurally from you, sir.
Yes, Chairperson. All in order.
Thank you so much. A special thanks as well to the Western Cape government, Mr. Janse van Rensburg, Ms. Michelle Malum. Thank you so much. Also for engaging and for replying and providing additional documents to the committee which was circulated. Thank you so much. I sincerely trust that museums will feel the benefit of this bill and that we are able to to see the fruits thereof. So thank you so much to the officials, members. Again, thank you so much. This meeting is now officially adjourned.
Thank you, Chair. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye, Chair.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay, Jen, nice meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.